What's up, guys? I'm LQ. This is the LQ Review. Thank you so much for being here at my YouTube channel. This is where I talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff that I love to talk about right here at the LQ Review. That's movies, TV shows, movies, comic books, video games, anything geeky, anything nerdy. I love to talk about it. Right now, I want to give you guys my thoughts on the new Netflix original series, Space Force. And we know that this is the same creative team behind The Office. And because of that, when I first heard about this show, however long ago, it seems like probably a year or more, I thought it would be like The Office. Honestly, I thought it was going to be the mockumentary style show like The Office was. And that really wasn't what we got at all. We got more of almost like a sitcom. Sitcom's probably not the right word. But it was a comedy, but it also had some other stuff going on. Let's talk about it. Steve Carell plays Mark Naird, and Mark Naird is the general, the 4-star general, who is put in charge of starting Space Force. And in the first episode, we have a time jump. So he's with his wife and he's with his daughter, and he gets promoted to start the Space Force. And then there's a time jump of about a year. A lot of stuff happens in that year, and a lot of stuff that we don't even know what happened in that year. We saw the results of what happened, but we don't know exactly what happened. So let's talk about Mark Naird. He is a lot like Michael Scott in the sense that a lot of crazy stuff happens to him. He is working in this environment where all this crazy, nonsensical stuff is happening. Unlike Michael Scott, though, Mark Naird is very competent. He's very good at it. I won't say he's very good at his job, but he's good at his job. He's good at his job. He knows what has to be done, and he knows the difference between right and wrong. And that is on display throughout the series. The fact that he knows the difference between right and wrong. And that's actually an important part of this series, is him knowing the difference between right and wrong. And even sometimes having to struggle with, is it okay to do the wrong thing? Is it okay to do maybe something that is immoral? Not just in terms of Space Force, but in terms of his marriage, in terms of his relationships. I mean, he's got a lot on his plate. He usually knows the difference between right and wrong. He's competent, and he struggles with, is it okay to not do the right thing? He's extremely relatable. I mean, his daughter wasn't always a likable character. I think by the end of the series, you can get on board and you can say, yeah, I like that character. But for a lot of the series, she was almost an antagonist. Like, not there to necessarily be an antagonist to Space Force, but to be an antagonist to Steve Carell's character. So, very good character, very good performance by Steve Carell in this. But really the person who really held this show together and made this show work was John Malkovich as Adrian Mallory. He made this series work. Whenever you get John Malkovich, you know you're going to get a strong performance. That's just what he does. But in this case, he really was the MVP of the season. Most of the really funny moments came from his character. Most of the poignant observations about the United States military, the United States government, even science, came from his character. So not only did his character provide a lot of the laughs, but his character also provided a lot of the big moments, the poignant observations, which is a big part of what Space Force is making observations about the United States military, United States government. Now, John Malkovich does play an LGBT character, but I've said this before about Netflix. Netflix is doing a really good job of approaching these characters in a way that they aren't defined by their sexuality, or characters who may not be defined by their religion. You know, they're doing a really good job of showing diversity, but just presenting it as this is how the world is. We don't have to make a big deal about the fact that he's dating a guy. He is. And we're going to tell our story. And this dude just happens to be homosexual. I really like. I so much prefer that form of storytelling in terms of inclusiveness and adding diversity. I really prefer it because I just don't like the idea of putting a character in there to be the token homosexual or the token black person or the token whatever it may be. I definitely prefer them to be put in because their strength as a character. And they just happen to be this other thing. And that's definitely the way that they approach John Malkovich's character here. Ben Schwartz played Scarabiducci, I think is how you said his name. He was the media manager for Space Force. He's annoying. I didn't like him in Parks and Recreation. I thought he was over the top. I thought he was a cartoon. In this, I thought he was over the top. Maybe not a cartoon like he was in Parks and Recreation, but he's still over the top. Ironically enough, the only time I liked him was in Sonic when he was playing a cartoon. I'm not a fan of this actor. I'm not a fan of the way that he engages the rest of the cast in Parks and Rec or in this. I'm just not. But I had to talk about him because he plays a big role. He does end up being a nice guy. And you had your doubts about him throughout the season. Ends up being a nice guy. And that's not really a spoiler. I think that I just had my doubts about him because I don't like him. Noah Emmerich plays General Kick Grabiston. I'm not going to talk about all the cameos. You know, there's a lot of cameos in this, especially from the 4-star generals. But I want to bring up Noah Emmerich because he really is the antagonist of this show. He is the antagonist. He is the one that's constantly against Space Force. He's the head of the Air Force, and he wants to absorb Space Force. Does a great job. I just watched The Truman Show the other day, and man, was he great in The Truman Show. And he's great in this also. Lisa Kudrow plays Maggie Naird, Steve Carell's wife, and honestly, she's not in it much. She's in the first episode, and then she pops up here and there. They make a decision with her character that I think creatively, I think creatively it's an interesting decision, but it doesn't have any real payoff in this season because we don't really know why they made this decision. We don't know why they made this decision in the context of storytelling, and we don't know why they made this decision in the context of the world that they inhabit. What happened? We just don't know what happened. So it's an interesting character, and she plays it well. And the moments that she has with Steve Carell are very sweet and very believable. But there's a lot of mystery surrounding her character as far as what happened. Once you see it, you'll understand what I'm saying. But what happened? So was it good? Yeah, you know, Space Force definitely had its moments. And I think at the end of the day, I can say that I liked it. But I expected it to be a lot funnier. It just really wasn't that funny. There was some good laughs. There was a bit with a space chimp that was hilarious. It just had me rolling. But overall, I expected it to be a lot funnier than it was. And really, they focused more on what they had to say about military, what they had to say about government. And that's when the show's at its best, is when it's giving the commentary, the insight on the military and government. Now, that can make you nervous because you might be left-leaning or you might be a leftist. And you might be like, are they making fun of Democrats? Or you might be right-leaning, or you might be hardcore Republican, and you might think, is this whole thing going to be a Trump bash? Is it going to be bashing Republicans? And I can say that it stays fairly politically neutral. And honestly, I wasn't expecting it to. I was honestly expecting it to be a Trump bash, because Trump founded Space Force. And I really expected it to be a Trump bash. And I mean, don't get me wrong, they take their jabs at Trump. But it's really politically neutral. They take their jabs at Trump, but they also take their jabs at the Democrat Party. Their goal is to be government satire. And they're effective, and it's easy to watch because they're being unbiased in their satire. And that's the stuff that I like the best. You know, I usually roll my eyes when it's biased satire, whether it be, you know, biased against the left or biased against the right. I usually roll my eyes at it because it's so obvious. But this is more nuanced because it is politically neutral. So from that point, I really enjoyed it. Yes, you get Trump bashing. Yes, you get some Democrat bashing. There's a character in it that's obviously AOC, and they paint her as I'm not going to get political here, but they paint her as kind of how she is. So what I appreciated, though, was that it was politically neutral. They treat Trump like a buffoon, and let's be fair, Trump is a buffoon. And they never call him Trump, and you never see the president. It's just POTUS. But we know who they're talking about. So, yeah, it wasn't great. I wanted to see more of it was 10 episodes, about a half hour each. I wanted to see more of like a 5-hour movie that was running through. There was no cliffhangers at the end of any of the episodes. Every episode was kind of nice and self-contained, and it was almost sitcomish, honestly. Now, the last episode ends on a cliffhanger. A big, huge cliffhanger in more ways than one. So I really hope it gets renewed for season 2, because I am at least curious enough that I want to see how it plays out. Also, shout out to Tawny Newsome. Tawny Newsome plays Captain Angela Ali, and she was great. She had a great storyline. African-American actress, had a great storyline, and she had a line in the movie that is a line in the movie. They had a line in the show. The second that she steps on the moon, it's the best line in the whole series. And she has a very sweet romance with an Asian actor played by I forget who plays him, but the Asian actor is Dr. Chang, and the Asian character is Dr. Chang. The Asian actor, I forget his name. I had it written down, and then I deleted it for some reason. But like I said, she had one of the funniest lines in the entire series. It was worth watching. I do recommend watching it. It was entertaining throughout, especially the dynamics between Steve Carell's character and John Malkovich's character. In a lot of ways, the story is about their friendship, about them becoming better friends. They start out as work acquaintances that don't necessarily like or respect each other, and they end up growing into what is essentially a real friendship. It was worth watching, but season 2 needs to be funnier. I'm just saying it. Season 2 needs to be funnier. But season 1 puts us in a place where I'm at least interested enough that I want to see season 2. So that's a win, right? That's a win. Season 2 needs to be funnier, though. So what did you guys think of Space Force? Let me know in the comments down below what you thought. I'd love to hear your take on it. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. And as always, thank you for joining me right here at the LQ Review, where we get to talk about all the geeky, nerdy stuff we love to talk about. And until next time, see you guys later.